Hello everyone, Jarrell from Sungrand here, and I wanted to share some of the behind-the-scenes process as I work on my upcoming JRPG, which we'll refer to tentatively for the moment as Project Thunder. I'm not ready to reveal the title on this game just yet, so what we're going to do is just quickly run the game and you can see what it looks like. So what you're seeing here is not the final product in terms of what the visuals will look like, as the shadows and the terrain texture are not being rendered correctly. They're just sort of like a weird placeholder for this particular version of Unity. It doesn't render it correctly until it's on a specific hardware because it's using custom shaders. So the actual product does look significantly more detailed than all that, but you can see, there are certain sections where the camera sort of zooms in a bit and gives you a closer look. You can interact with the characters and whatnot, just to give you a clearer look at what is going on here. And I'll be sharing better quality screenshots at another point as well. I have one of my party members with me. So that's just a quick look. Now I want to show you what it's like when setting up new characters. So this guy here, his name is Sakana. He is from the fish tribe, and he has access to a water and ice magic, and he uses a bow as his weapon to fight. So you can see him in high resolution here. Right now it's being rendered at 400 by 240, just so I can make sure that it makes sense from lower resolution. I will be making versions of this game on 2D platforms and older legacy platforms like the DS and the PSP, and I'll be using RPG Maker 2K3 to make a version of the game as well. So I need to make sure that when I render the characters down, that their designs, their visuals still make sense from that artistic standpoint. So that's why I'm working on this at lower resolution, so I make sure that every design element is expressed sufficiently at lower resolutions, and it gives that vibe that this was designed in an era where that was a priority, was that, whereas modern day character designs tend to be very messy. I find that they're overly designed because we have access to super high resolution 3D models and graphics. So why not make your characters as complicated looking and as overly designed as you can? And that gives your characters a very distinct look. Not necessarily my favorite look, that they're so overly complicated. Whereas something like this, the priority is making sure you express your character that makes sense, at this kind of resolution. So that's the vibe that I want to express. So I want to just have a look at the characters that I have in my database right now. I'm going to right click on that and I'll create my Eventide RPG, which is my RPG framework. I'll just go to character and I'm going to name this guy Sakana, and that is his name. Now I'll have to render portraits for these characters later on. I'll set up a scene where I can render them just at high resolution like that, and I'll use those as the portraits here. Okay, so let's see. Now I will specify the prefab. So one mistake that you could end up making in Unity is to assign a prefab, but this is a bad idea because that means that that character's graphics are always going to be loaded into memory, and they're always going to take up memory. So I put the file name in there and I just load it as a resource file. So let's see here. Let's just go ahead and have a look at our stats first. So right, by default, everything is just zeroed out. I'm just going to start with a stat preset because this guy he's really sort of a mix between a magic caster and a bowman of some kind. So what I think I'm going to do, let's see. I might just go. He's not exactly a hero, not exactly a thief, right? But I'm going to start with hero. I'm going to replace current stats with presets. And if you happen to mess up and you accidentally clicked, a button, I have a button here to undo the last preset change. So you can see that the starting values here and the end values here, let's see. So I want his speed to be a bit lower, right? Let's see, and the trade-off for that is he's going to be pretty strong, actually. So we'll knock that down to 4. And he'll be more of a kind of glass cannon character, I think. And of course, these values are going to fluctuate as I balance out the game a bit, but he'll have lower HP, but he's going to be a magic caster and a bowman. 600, right? The bows are quite strong, you know. Something that really irritates me, that just about every single video game and every RPG treats the bow like it's this weak weapon, like, oh, it's the weak, fast weapon. When in actuality, the bow is the very slow, very powerful weapon. So with my games, I tend to treat them thusly. So he's sort of a split between a magic caster and a bow user. We're going to lower his defense as well, so that makes him more of a glass cannon. So you'd want to balance this guy out, you know, with characters that can help boost his defenses and whatnot. Something you have to do here is click Save Character, just the way this window works. Otherwise, your stats won't get saved. So you have immunity. These are placeholder stats that I just put in there. I'm going to be removing the vast majority of them there. By default, they're just in my RPG framework, just to give me starting points. So if we have a look at our actions learnable by level, you can see he doesn't have anything defined yet. Let's just say, let's boot in 2, okay? Let's see, attack. But so you can have characters learn things like, you know, attack times 2, where they'll hit 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, you know. So let's go ahead and give him defend as well. We also want him to be able to access his magic. Let's see. Oh, I think that's a different menu. It'll be in a different menu entirely. Okay, so let's see. I haven't, these are all placeholder things that are just starting points for my magic, and I'll have to create everything um, from scratch. So I'll be doing that today, and I love that. I love just sitting down and making, you know, all the items and all the spells. You know, I grew up using RPG Maker, so that step is always been a lot of fun to me. Is just coming up with the cool stuff to put in your game. So right from the get-go, you know, I want him to be able to access a couple different things. Now you can have traits as well, which can change how a character behaves or reacts during battle. You know, you can put counterattack in there or counter, you know, with a magic spell, something like that. We also have the experience curve that you can define as well. So let's see. You can have different multipliers that go up. Like say it's easier to get to, you know, level 0 to 10, you know, but then after that, you know, it just increases more and more. You know, and then you hit recalculate levels, and then it should just punch that all in there for you. Let's see, you know, you can see it like drops off because I've changed that in there. So, um, all right. So let's go ahead and just close that. And if we have a look at our equipment options, again, these are placeholder equipment. They're just default in my RPG framework. Uh, like for example, I would remove everything except the bow, except there isn't a bow on the list, you know. But you know, let's say the crossbow was the bow, right? I would just take out everything that isn't that, so we can only use that. That gives you the option to let characters access multiple weapons as well, and then you have weapon proficiencies. So if you let them access multiple weapons, but maybe they're better at using the crossbow, right? Then you can say that it'll do 30% more damage. You can specify what kind of shield types there are. Right now there's only 2, but I would add more. Of course, you can specify helmet subtypes, armor subtypes, and what they can and can't use, that sort of thing. Now, elemental alignment is extremely important. Again, these are just placeholder ones. The final game is going to be a bit more um, solid in terms of something you can understand from a classic standpoint for game design. Um, but you can say in terms, let's say like, oh, obviously he's, you know, he's a fish guy, right? He's from the fish clan, so he's going to do, you know, 50% more damage with his water magic, you know, if you wanted that. And then of course he takes way less damage. So how this is a multiplier, right? So actually you would want him to take less damage, you know. So if you went to 50, he actually takes less damage from water. So that's actually 50%. So you can also have natural immunity to certain statuses. Like let's say, um, so if you put it at 1, right? Then you could be immune to that. And I think the way I've designed this system is that they can actually absorb it and get a boost if you have it above the value of 1. Of course, you can customize all those things. So we have our character here. Let's go ahead and save that character. And I'm just going to have to fix that later on as well. You know, I could have a button here where I add it to the core database as a character. I'm going to hit that and then just check and see that it has actually added it to my core here. Let's see, and you can see that it went through the list and then it found the next empty spot and then it put Sakana in there. But I actually need to reset all of this because, again, placeholder data from just setting up while I was developing my game framework. So we'll put him in slot number 3 just for now. Right, but he's in 2 spots now. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. But of course, I'm going to remove all of those once they're ready. I'll go ahead and hit apply. And now I want to make sure that he has graphics, you know. So let's see. Let's see. I use my auditionee system here. And I haven't done the graphics for the final version for hair, so everyone's bald right now. But I'm just going to use this as a starting point. That's the main character hero. We're going to Control C to copy Sakana, and then we're going to paste him in here. And then I'll just reset, and then we'll delete hero, and then I'll rename it. Sakana. Okay. Copy that. We just need to make sure that we reference his animator. So put his animator in there. All right, and now we want to go ahead and, again, I'm going to delete all that stuff. Again, that's from a previous project, just a placeholder thing. So I'm going to drag and drop this into here. And now he is stored so that he can be accessed by basically any game logic now that needs to use him. So I'll just use that to search, and you can see that's my character Sakana. And now, so this is for a class system. If your character, my RPG framework is able to create games based on class systems. So you have characters that are created, and then they have a class, in which case the character is actually the class system. So this leaves room for having the character or the class can have different graphics for the male and female. And then, of course, you have a different prefab for the battle as well, which has a little bit more logic to it. And that's just to say, for example, if you wanted the Final Fantasy VII, vintage effect where the world 3D models look different from the battle 3D models. So now I can access that character. I'm going to click save the character. All right. Now we'll go ahead and delete him since we don't need him anymore, right? And I wonder if I should just go and quickly modify some game logic, and I'll just add him to my party. If I add him to my party, he should be following me around at this point. So let me see if I have that script available to edit right now. Right. Type. I'm editing my initialized party data, and I guess I can show you this stuff. This isn't too confidential here. I'll just show you a little bit of what's going on here. Okay, you have the setup initial members here. And I should create something in the core, right? In my core functionality that will let me define it. So right now, your party has to be set up in terms of your starting members. They have to be hard coded in. But for now, I'll just have it here in code. But in the future, I will upgrade my framework so that you can manage this through the core for your starting party. Okay, and I actually don't need that. The random color, I could just get rid of that. Okay. And this, of course, lets you nickname your characters so you can change their names. Let's see, character ID 3. I think that should be 4, right? I should leave that because I'm pretty sure that should be like that anyway. We're just going to leave ID 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Actually, that should be 3, and that should say 2, shouldn't it? Anyway, that actually should be 2 to initialize character 3. But I've been changing quite a few things lately as I'm updating and optimizing. I've started building this framework years ago, and it's only now that I get to use it for my first commercial title here. So I'm going to run it. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure what will happen, actually. So we'll just see if that worked properly. I'll hit the run button. Again, yeah, I'm very much just totally in the middle of development. So, hey, it worked. Look, my buddy's right there with me. So all the logic worked out. I have my 2 party members with me. I have Fedori and Sakana. And let's see, he isn't animating. So I have a feeling that something I didn't save the preset data correctly, and it looks like, let's see. Right. I didn't assign the correct animation controller. So I'll go ahead and fix that now. So I go ahead and use that to bring Sakana into the scene. And we'll open the character, and you can see that's just a test. And actually, all of the animation logic is an animator actor map, and it's set up so that all these humanoid characters can share the exact same animation controller, so I don't have to reprogram the animation logic for every single character. They can all share that. Hit apply. And now, if I save my character, I can go ahead and run the game, and it will work. Okay. Here we are. And now I have my buddies. We can all go on a fun adventure together. And you can see that it is animated and working properly now. Great. Very excited. Very excited about that. Looking good. So that's all we have time for today. Next time I'll go over the logic on creating weapons and how to assign the graphics for that and how the characters can equip the weapons. That's always something that's just so much fun. That's really when you get to do, it's really less work and just you get to play a little bit. So I think I have a couple different kind of swords here just from the get-go. Like for example, so these are in templates called battle weapons. You can see the script they have is called an Eventide battle weapon. Let's see. This one is a sort of a gem sword, and I'll just sort of, just for now, I'll just sort of stick it into this character's hand. You can kind of see what it'll look like, something like that. But in the original project, the starting character models were actually smaller than these characters. So I'm going to have to make some adjustments. But, if it were to be, set up correctly, it would look a little something like this. And that's pretty fun. So the specific proportions I picked for these characters are so that I can have them at this resolution and the outlines and the shape of the characters will still be clear and visible to the player. So it's very specific proportions that I've chosen for the aesthetic of this game, and also because I want to have large weapons. The large weapons are fun to look at, they have good presence, and it feels like you're really, dealing damage during battle. So luckily I have a couple starting places for like simple, boring weapons. You start out with, the sort of the weaker wooden weapons and whatnot. So I can show you that next time, and go through all the data and all the special stuff that you can have the weapons do. So it's not just a matter of stats. There can be all kinds of different behaviors and traits, and you can have it to where, for example, if you're poisoned, you actually get stat boosts. If you have a poison sword, getting poisoned makes you stronger. That sort of situation. So that way you can make games that have so much dynamic and interest to them in battle. So thanks for watching. I hope that was interesting to you. Take care of yourselves. And if you are interested in supporting this game, I'll be bringing it to platforms like the Switch, Steam, Atari VCS, but I do want to create free homebrew versions on the DS and the PSP, those will be free. I won't be able to monetize those. So if you do want to support that part of this project, I will post a link to my Patreon if you would like to support that. Again, not necessary, because I just want to make sure everyone can just enjoy these games for free, you know. And I am doing an RPG Maker 2003 version of the game. And for people who are on my Patreon, I will share the source of the project so that people can use all the character graphics and make their own little fan game versions, and they can modify and do whatever they want with it. So, okay, take care, everyone. I'll check in again soon, and I'll share more progress with you. Cheerio.